Welcome back to Everyday Lessons in the Bible. Today I was in Daniel chapter 2. Now this one is King Nebuchadnezzar. He has had a dream and he wants somebody to interpret it because he doesn't understand what it is. I don't know about you, but I've had dreams before where I'm like, what on earth was that? And if only I could figure it out. I know there's all kind of books and stuff that people can interpret dreams. And I have asked before and gotten revelation on dreams that I've had, which has been very, very interesting. But here we are with King Nebuchadnezzar, and he is going to the magicians, the enchanters, the sorcerers, and he is wanting his dream interpreted. And nobody can do it. Nobody can do it. And he is threatening to kill them all, like brutally too. He talks about tearing their limbs and all kind of stuff. And so Daniel, who loves the Lord and has a relationship with the Lord, he knows who his God is. And he has confidence in who his God is. And he knows that he can go to the Lord and ask him and that the Lord will tell him. I mean, to me, that is the kind of relationship we should have with the Lord, that no matter what we're going through, we can go to the Lord with confidence and boldness to say, hey, I need direction. I need to know what to do. Whatever that thing is, be able to go to the Lord every day and be able to have that kind of conversation with him and trust and know that he is going to show you the way. So Daniel, he keeps calm under pressure, and he exercises his great faith in a moment of crisis during this. So Daniel, he stepped up and he sought God to have mercy on him, to give him the knowledge of what the dream was about. And he also had his three friends that we've talked about before. We know them as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, but their true names were, as we've discussed yesterday, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. And I wanted to note also on that, we know them as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And I don't know if I said this yesterday or not, but I always find it odd that that's how we know them. We don't say their God-given names. And I find that odd because Daniel was his God-given name, and we refer to him as Daniel, not the name that King Nebuchadnezzar had given him. I don't know if you ever thought about that, but I don't know if it's because Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego rose off the tongue better than their God-given names, but I just find it, I don't know, I almost find it offensive that we as a culture, a Christian culture, have referred to them by the names that were given to them, in the wrong way. They were demeaning names. They weren't their God-given name. Anyway, just a little side thought there. But anyway, so Daniel prayed to the Lord for the vision, like wanted to know what the dream was, what it meant. And God answered Daniel's prayer, and he revealed to him the mystery of the dream. And Daniel blessed God. And I just wanted to read this part to you. Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, to whom belong wisdom and might. He changes times and seasons. He removes kings and sets up kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who have understanding. He reveals deep and hidden things. He knows what is in the darkness, and the light dwells with him. That's Jesus. To you, O God, my fathers, I give thanks and praise. For you have given me wisdom and might, and you have made known to me what we asked of you. For you have made known to us the king's matter. I just think that's beautiful. That's what Daniel said back to the Lord. And so he gives him the vision, and he goes back to the king to tell him what the vision is. And it says, and then he says in there, but there is a God in heaven who reveals mysteries, and he has made known to King Nebuchadnezzar what will be in the latter days. And so Daniel's always pointing people back to God. Like, this is what God Almighty, this God alone has authority over time and history. And I think that's super important, that he's always pointing people back to God and showing them that God is the ultimate authority. And Daniel knew that only God could reveal the mysteries for his own purpose, And so anyway, you've got this statue, the head of gold and the chest and arms of silver and the middle and thighs of bronze and the legs of iron, and its feet are partly iron and partly clay. And then there's a stone that crushes it and all this stuff. So we'll go through that super quickly, but I just had some things I wanted to note about it. Is there's a boulder, a stone, and it's the picture of the altar of God, and it's not cut by human hands. And the altar is where we meet God, and he becomes the mountain. And then God mentions coming to the top of the mountain throughout scriptures. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but he mentions it a lot. And even in the end, at the top of the mountain. And the top of the mountain, it then refers to as, the rock upon which Jesus will build his church. And so I think the mountains are important, and we don't realize how important when God talks about mountains, how important mountains are. And we may talk about that on a later time. I've learned a lot about mountains and what that means in our scriptures. And so the boulder, the stone that grew into this massive mountain, is Jesus, our King. He is the kingdom of priests, and the mountain of the temple of the Lord that is higher and greater than any other mountain. And so then you had the chest, the silver is chest and arms, and that's the kingdom of the Medes that toppled the Babylonian Empire and the Persians empire. And then you have the belly and the hips of bronze is the kingdom of Greece, and then the iron legs is the kingdom of Rome. And there's all these different dates. So like you have the Persians, that was in 539 to 331 BC, and then you have the kingdom of Greece, which is 331 to 63 BC. Not that you need to know all of that right now. And then you have, and so it's going through the times. And so then the kingdom of Rome was 63 BC to AD 476. And so then you've got the feet and the toes. Iron mixed with clay is divided nations. That's AD 476 to present. And then the head of gold is the King Nebuchadnezzar. And after him will be a second, third, fourth kingdom, and then a divided kingdom. And so God's kingdom is the stone that crushed all the other kingdoms, which is the most important thing to note in all of this, is that God's kingdom is the stone that crushes all the other kingdoms. And, God gave this interpretation to Daniel. And so then Daniel was rewarded by King Nebuchadnezzar. And he was rewarded with gifts and leadership. And Daniel made sure that his 3 friends were also taken care of. And I think that is super important to note as well, is when you call people to pray with you, for the situation, whatever that is, honor them and thank them, especially when things turn around, thank those that stood beside you. I just think about how, when Moses needed his arms raised when the battle was going on, and he had people to support him, and we need people to support us. And those that support us, we should thank them and honor them, and make sure, like in this situation, his 3 friends were able to be over areas that we'll see next. And I think that's super important, that that we honor people that have journeyed with us and come alongside us. So I hope those are some little nuggets for you today. God is over all, and he's the authority of all, and we give him all praise, honor, and glory every day. Thank you for listening to Everyday Lessons in the Bible. I hope you have a blessed day. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel.